Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast this evening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator.
How are you this evening, sir?
Fine, actually, fine. While you are busy rejoicing, I assume, over some ball finding its way into a net, we are rejoicing here that, our icon is going to be 90 in a few days. He's been honored in Morocco. We are rejoicing that Nigeria was given the headquarters of the Energy Bank of Africa. So it's not something they will take away when President Tinubu leaves. It will be something that we will be keeping here permanently. And then now President Tinubu has been appointed to a second term of chairman of ECOWAS. So that's 3-1.
No, sir. No, sir. I will not be defeated tonight. So I will recount my own. So we have a new prime minister since we spoke. I followed your advice. Lewis Hamilton got on a podium on the F1 race. And we're in the final. England is in the final. So 3-3, we're equal, sir.
Okay.
All right, sir. Good. Let me start with Africa this evening, sir. Because for some of us younger ones, I saw something that I don't think I'd seen before. And this is in Kenya, where the president has effectively sacked his entire cabinet. And I looked at that and I thought, who does that? Who sacks the entire cabinet? And then I thought that before I say that, let me listen to what you have to say about it. And then I'd use that to form an opinion on a president sacking his entire cabinet with the exception of two key people there. What's your take on that, sir?
It's an accept half a loaf of bread. Even in this case, this is more, well, what is offering them is more than half a loaf. Let us hope Ruto has learned his lesson.
Well, I guess I think you've touched on it, but some people may say that if Ruto is of the opinion that all his cabinet members must go, surely he too should have been thinking of stepping down and maybe handing over to his vice president to control things, because he was the head of the government when all the issues happened, and he too should have been culpable, and that could be why people are still calling for him to leave.
Yes, I agree with you, but the vice president comes from the same cartel as Ruto himself. So really, it's terrible. But we are spending time talking about Ruto and Kenya. There is a proverb. I don't know whether it's a Nigerian proverb or it's an African proverb, that when you are pointing your finger at somebody, 4 fingers are being pointed at you. So,
I was coming to what I think is the 4 fingers that you are referring to, sir. Now, you touched on it briefly in your introduction about the appointment of a second term of the president or the chair of ECOWAS. And what struck me, sir, is that I'm not so sure if that is a blessing or a curse in a sense, because with what has happened earlier on in the week and the solidifying of this relationship between Burkina Faso and Mali and Niger, which happened to be, when we look at it, very, very well received by people from those 3 countries. And even some of the optics of walking so many kilometers together side by side, and how that generated a lot of euphoria with people seeing them, that got me really worried, sir. What do you think? Is it too late to bring those 3 countries back into ECOWAS?
We don't know. We just don't know. I would say let them continue what they are doing. You will recall that measures had been taken to appease them. They have removed the sanctions that are put against them. But with all due respect to the young people who are on our program, I always try to advise the youth to show some element of wisdom and maturity. Times listen to advice from old people. Now, I listened to a 20-minute tape by Traore, who seemed to be the primus inter pares, in which, he casts aspersion on those who are bringing advice, how they are agents, of neo-colonialists who are now jealous of the programs that they are making. And when you mentioned the 3 Mile hike, my mind goes back to Murtala Mohammed, who, after the overthrow General Gawan, he decided that the flamboyance of the ancient regime was too much, and that they would show that they come from a different, clan. And you saw what happened. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, everybody knows that they are full of jihadists. They are full of people who are enemies of the present regime. Who can be used by, which I admit, who can be used by the neo-colonialists, that they could be agents of the neo-colonialists. And all it takes is one bullet. All it takes is one bullet. Therefore, while I understand the optics of their walking 3 miles amongst people who are cheering them, and who believe that they've got leaders who come from a different, symmetry than the previous ones. They should still be careful. They have enemies. And I'm not sure that France, let's call it spade by a spade, not sure that France or the United States, whom they've evicted, don't forget the amount of money that those countries sunk into these countries we're talking about. So they stepped on some toes. I was reading also where I was also reading, there was a video about African leaders who have been assassinated since independence. And that catalog is there. So giving the President Tinubu a second term as chairman of ECOWAS, to me, it's a recognition. First of all, that will not be the first time. Again, I must have on this platform former ambassadors, and some of them who worked with me. The first time that this issue of having a second term as chairman of ECOWAS came up, actually when I was a minister. I'm not sure is something we need to be proud of. How did it come about? Thomas Sankara was supposed to be the chairman of ECOWAS. It was his turn. And IBB was the sitting chairman. But by that time, conferences of ECOWAS had deteriorated to the point where the Francophonies were boycotting it. So it was really more the Anglophone and a few of the Francophonies who were attending. So IBB called me and said, look, we are supposed to have the summit in Abuja. Let us try and get the French-speaking countries back so that it will be, at least he will round off his chairmanship on a successful note. And so I suggested that, well, maybe the best thing is for me to go to Eyadema, because don't forget that Eyadema and General Yakubu Gowon were the two linchpins who thought up the idea of ECOWAS and who made Whitegate. And that maybe if we could persuade him to come, he would tell us how to bring others along. And the president said, fine. So off I went to Togo. The first of many trips that I made to that country. I was received by Yadema, and I told him my mission. And he said, no. Don't bother to come to me. Left to me, I'll be there. I have a lot of respect for Nigeria. But the man who could get all of us to come is President Houphouët-Boigny of Côte d'Ivoire. He's our patron. He's our, godfather. If he says we should come, we will all come. So the best thing is for you to go to him and persuade him. Now, the letter, the diplomats on our program know they know the protocol. The letter I was carrying was only for Eyadema. I wasn't carrying a letter of authority to go to Houphouët-Boigny. But right there, Eyadema picked up the phone, got from me the telephone number of IBB, and gave me the phone to speak to IBB. So I spoke to him and said, look, we have a problem. This and this is what I've been advised by General Eyadema. But the letter of authority that you gave me is only to Eyadema. I need to now go to Côte d'Ivoire without a letter of authority. And I know that the president of Côte d'Ivoire is also a stickler for protocol. So I need your permission to go there without carrying any letter from you. And also, General Eyadema needs your authority to call him that I am on my way. So IBB said, look, go ahead with whatever you think will make your trip a success. So I went off to Côte d'Ivoire. Yes, I was received by the foreign minister, and they took me to Yamoussoukro. And I met the old man there. And he listened to me. And he said, you know, this will be the first time Nigeria will show me any respect. And yet I'm an old man. I don't ask for much except to be respected. That's all. You've done your bit. Tell my son, and he was referring to IBB, tell my son we will all be there because of the respect he has shown me. So I thanked him. He gave me some presents, which are still around in my study. I asked him if it's all right for me to go to the cathedral, the Catholic cathedral that was being built. And that pleased him because he said, oh, so you've been following what we are doing here. You haven't been ignoring us. And of course, I mean, how could we ignore you, sir? How could we ignore what you are doing in Côte d'Ivoire? So I decided again, I had to delay the flight to go to the cathedral, walked around it, and saw it. I mean, I thought that cathedral should not have been built, but I wasn't going to say so. That will spoil, the thing I was trying to do. So I came back to tell him how wonderful that cathedral was. It was going to be the biggest Catholic cathedral in the world. It was the Pope who persuaded him to remove just part of the cross on the top so that the cathedral will not be bigger than the cathedral in Rome. So I came back and I told the IBB, mission accomplished. And they all showed up. But they gave a condition that they will not accept Sankara as chairman. That they know it is the turn of the Francophonies to nominate the next chairman, but that they will not accept Sankara. That instead, they are prepared for IBB to continue for a second term, that they volunteer, they give up their own turn. Now, that's created another problem. And I told IBB, I said, this is not fair to Thomas Sankara. because it's like a snub to him. And yes, he doesn't have too many supporters, but nevertheless, it's a snub to him. And IBB said, well, I understand the man likes you, so you go to him and persuade him that this is what has happened, and you will know what to say when you get there. So I flew off to Burkina Faso. Again, paid him my compliments. We talked about different things and so on. And then I said, sir, I am here on a very difficult mission. And I need, if you don't want me to lose my job, I need your help. I need your cooperation. He said, how could he, have a hand in getting rid of Foreign Minister of Nigeria? He said, even the Foreign Minister of Nigeria is more powerful than the president of Burkina Faso. So what is the problem? So I explained to him. And right there and then he said, tell my brother, President Babangida, that not only will I come for the conference, I surrender my post to him, if that will make our conference and this organization a success. And I mean, you could see that is the thinking, the mentality of an Pan-Africanist. The post was not important to him. Africa was important to him. And I'm so glad that I'm still alive when Thomas Sankara is now being honored, not only in his country, but at least by you young people. So that will be the first time that there will be a second term, as we now call it. And since then, there have been second terms and second terms. So now, I'm not giving you this background history in order to diminish the offer made to President Tinubu. For whatever reason, his colleagues might have decided to give him a second term. But I've had it said, and let me use this opportunity to, to correct it. He didn't create the problem in ECOWAS. He inherited Burkina Faso, inherited Mali, and there is another country we have even forgotten, we don't talk about. He inherited Guinea. The only coup that took place when he was there was Niger. So all those problems cannot be put at his doorstep. My own, if you ask me to prophesy, is that they will come back. That they will come back, that they will be overwhelmed. I agree with what they are trying to do. They are the young officers that we are talking about. They are Pan-Africanists. They mean well for Africa. Their intention to get rid of those who have been exploiting us is well determined. And I agree with them. And I hope they succeed and then come back to ECOWAS.
I think that was a fantastic lesson in diplomacy and how one should play all the cards correctly to get the right outcomes that one needs to drive things forward. But let me take you in a slightly different direction, sir, because you've said that if you may prophesy, and last week you said two things. When we were talking about the UK election, you said vote Labour. Labour won. When we talked about the French and the fact that the far-right nationalist party was, it was almost like a done deal that they were going to win and all of that. I think you also called it right that those the left was going to form an alliance and that it would be, yeah, they almost won, but they never won it. So I think I'll keep this recording and make sure that in X number of years from now, I'll be saying that, well, looks like Professor Akinyemi prophesied it. However, let's look at the United Kingdom. Now Labour is in. Keir Starmer has inherited Israel, Hamas, Israel, Hezbollah, and some people are now starting to say maybe even Israel, Afghanistan, because looks like some Afghan forces are now going to join Hezbollah and join Hamas to fight against Israel. At the same time, he's inherited Russia-Ukraine war. How do you think the UK Prime Minister needs to play his cards with those two wars and with respect to NATO, considering the NATO summit that should be concluding today? How should he play his card? What are you seeing in your, I don't know if to use the word crystal ball, of accurate predictions of what is happening on the diplomatic scene and the foreign policy scene?
Well, with all due respect to you British, I think you believe you can bat above your cricket parameters. Frankly, and as I say this again with all due respect, frankly, Britain doesn't count in the scheme of things. Wherever the United States goes, the United Kingdom will go that way. Because you see, it's like Israel is the power of the United States that give Israel the chutzpah. That's the Yiddish word for the arrogance of Israel. The same thing, you recall, you have this phrase, or we have this phrase in diplomacy, that Britain has a special relationship with the United States. This phraseology came after the Second World War. The time is long gone when you could say there is a special relationship between Britain and the United States. Some may even argue that is the 1956 Suez Canal War that broke that relationship. That from then on, the United States, generalizing her over by the president, let the British Prime Minister know that you can't go ahead and do things without clearance from us and expect us to support you. The doctrine of consultation, which when again I was a foreign minister, I tried to get Nigerian intellectuals to absorb that, you think it's respect people are showing for you to get into trouble, and then they come rushing to you, or they want to hold a conference, they don't have the money, then they come to you and ask you for money in order to have the conference, or they want to, they want you to continue to play the role of a godfather. That doesn't show respect for you. They're just using us. Unfortunately, even though within the ministry, there was an acceptance of what I was trying to do. You had the socialists in University of Ahmadu Bello University, the socialists of in Ife, socialists University of Lagos, the socialists in University of Nsukka, who believed that their thinking was because we were agents of neocolonialism, because we were following Britain and following America, therefore we should be, if you like, the socialist countries are superior to us, and we should regard it as whatever it is, for them to come to us to ask for money and for this and for that. So if the United States decides, it's the United States that decides what will happen in the Middle East, in the South Pacific. I mean, after all, how many European countries did the United States consult when they decided that they were going to expand NATO to include New Zealand, Australia, etc., to become friends of NATO? How many Europeans did the United States consult, and how many Europeans were actually convinced that that was a brilliant move? So really, I would say we should spend time talking about where the United States is going to go, rather than where Britain will go. Britain will follow the United States wherever it goes.
Thank you, sir. Regarding Russia and Ukraine, there was a piece of news that caught my attention during the week, and I thought I'd bring it up on the program today. And that's what appears to be a bit of a masterclass from the Indian Prime Minister in his visit to Russia, while at the same time, he seems to have gained some very significant concession from Putin, which I suspect that a lot of Indians back home would be very, very happy about. What is your view about the visit of Modi to Russia and the way the media presented that visit, which seemed to be very cordial relationship? And what's your take on that visit by India, sir?
Power counts, not ideology. Power counts. India probably now has the second, if not higher, larger economy in the world. And that demands respect. And that got respect. Nobody will have paid any attention. I won't mention names, but nobody will have paid any attention if, country X decides to go to Russia while NATO was meeting in Washington. But because of the economic power, which has also manifested itself into military power, Modi played the game very well, in the sense that he went to Russia at the time when he knew it would be recognized. Number two, which again people seem to have ignored, BRICS summit took place in Russia. I think it started either yesterday or this morning. Again, at the time when NATO summit was taking place in Washington. Now, let us step back a few steps. That ICC still has that warrant of arrest on Putin. And yet, at the beginning, Putin was frightened. He stayed in Russia. And we all thought this is going to affect the policy profile of Russia. But now it travels around, admittedly only to countries where he's sure he will not be arrested and handed over. He'd been to China, he'd been to Vietnam, he had been to India. Yes, he's been to India. He's hosting, if you recall, the BRICS conference that was held in South Africa. He couldn't go. I think he spoke to them through Zoom.
Yes,
Now today is hosting countries of BRICS. So in a way, it's like he thumbed his nose at Western countries and Western institutions. And it's like if you are hosting a conference of NATO in Washington, yes, I also will opt it and have, a meeting with Modi of India and BRICS in Russia. So they are not balanced, but the optics helps Putin at the end of the day.
Someone on YouTube is just calling attention here that even though General Gowon may have helped in midwifing ECOWAS, this person is saying that there was a Senegalese intellectual, Cheikh Anta Diop, was the person who originally came up with the idea of ECOWAS, which then grew up into what ultimately became ECOWAS. Interesting story. He's referring to a book, Black Africa, the Economic and Cultural Basis for a Federated State by Anta Diop. Is what this person is referring to on YouTube. Thank you for that comment, sir.
That could be the theory. In fact, Professor Adedeji, who later on became the Secretary General of the African Economic Commission, was the one who actualized the theory that Cheikh Anta Diop was talking about. We as scholars can come up with ideas, but until these ideas, are manifested into concrete policies by being in position of authority. It is the politics. I mean, it is the authority. It is the holder of the authority who will implement, the policies more than you could put 10 scholars together. They will not achieve the same they will not achieve the same thing as one scholar who is in office.
Thank you for that, sir. Before we close, one last I'll use your terminology. One last comment from you. The heat for President Biden to step down is going up. Now, very major donors are calling for him to step down. And he's still insisting he's not going to step down. His wife is insisting that he's fine. He can continue to lead the government. Where do you see this going? Do you think the pressure would force him to step down?
Mm. He's a stubborn man. He's a stubborn man. And the people who could talk him out of running in his family are drawing the circle around him. But there was a statement he made, which I think we should pay attention to. He was asked, supposing you run, and in January, Trump is sworn in as president, will you take responsibility for that? And he said, I would have done my best. Now that's defeatism. In my own judgment, that's defeatism. You shouldn't submit to the United States, and you shouldn't submit to the free world to the dangers of 4 years of Trump. If you really believe listening to all these important people in the Democratic Party, not even in, oh, I'm sure the Republicans are happy. They're enjoying what is happening, within the Democratic Party. He should listen to the Democratic Party and step down. I know some people on this platform will say, but you said last week that they shouldn't shame the old man, that there will be a backlash. Yes, I said so. I said they shouldn't shame him, but he shouldn't shame himself as well. I believe it's not too late for him to step aside. If after stepping aside, because of the time limit, Kamala Harris or whoever it is who replaces him loses the election, at least he will have done the honorable thing. But I think the stubbornness is not going to pay America well.
Wow. Thank you very much for that, sir. We're just 3 minutes over. I wouldn't want to take you too much over time. So I'd like to bring the program to a close this week.
Before you bring it to an end this week.
Okay, sir.
Let me play your role as a moderator this time. We will not be having this program next week, Thursday, yes, because the son of our regular moderator is getting his degree, is graduating from his university Thursday next week. And as a father, like any of us, he has to be there to share the honors with the young man. So we will not be having this program next week. So it will be the following Thursday that we will all meet again. But I'm sure you will all join me in saying congratulations to our moderator, Mr. Akin Akinyemi. And he's already whispered to me that even his daughter will also be graduating next year. Well, I don't know how he managed to put the two of them almost, back to back in terms of their education. So congratulations to you, your family, your wife, and to your young son. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. You have given away my age now. Thank you very much, sir. On that note, we'll end the program this evening, and we will not be here next week, but the week after, the program will continue as usual. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for your support. Good night. We'll see next 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks' time. Good night, everyone. Cheers. Bye.